Hello and welcome back to Rocket Rabbit Commentaries playthrough of F-Zero X as ported over onto the Nintendo Switch. Now that we have gotten the green X for novice completion of the F-Zero Jack Cup, we're going to proceed to the F-Zero Queen Cup. Starting fresh and also switching up our racer.
Sector Alpha, the inverted loop.
I think Captain Falcon is a great candidate for one of these early cup races, because little do we realize going into this that there are two other race cups and difficulties that we can't even see right now.
Hey, Captain Falcon.
Show me your moves.
No, Captain Falcon doesn't do any Falcon punches during this game.
You know, ain't that amazing how Captain Falcon needed a game other than an F-Zero game in order to really flesh out his personality as a character?
No. This game actually does have character bios for all the racers.
Oh, yeah, that's right. And it also gives you an opportunity to hear from the racers themselves should you complete any of the 5 races on a difficulty other than novice. As we
All
were,
right, so what's the top speed that the Blue Falcon can actually get to on this course, Mr. Cloud?
I mean, I'll tell you what top speed they can get. It's the top speed that you can keep, if only for a second. What with these tight turns and also narrow corridors that will cause a lot of shoving room, like that nasty tiny little urethra that will remind you how important it is that you check with a doctor if you're trying to have children. This is a race track that you probably will not get a very high top speed in, except maybe like right here. But now that we're out of the inverted loop segment of the map, that kind of makes the whole map icon look like a air dialogue bubble with the arrow pointed to the character speaking. Now these tight turns are going to challenge you to keep your speed up.
But these aren't actually all that tight of turns, to be perfectly honest. I mean, light changes in direction would have been fine for most of that track.
And with practice, you too will learn how to master each of the 24 non-computer generated tracks in F-Zero X. I'm sorry,
hey, James,
25
this time. Haha.
Yeah, the racers will be randomly difficulty assigned. You will notice, however, a very familiar roster of faces in the top 6 on pretty much every single race. You know, as long as you don't suck. So what you're going to enjoy about Captain Falcon's racer, specifically with respect to, well, let's say the Golden Fox that we were just playing as in the last part, his grip rating is significantly improved. You do have to take some care as to not lose control of the Blue Falcon when you're going around corners, because that is going to ruin your speed.
I do notice that you're still not actually interacting with the jump mechanics.
The jump mechanics. I mostly just want to not die. That is my main motivation as I'm going over jumps like that.
And at least early on, you know, the best way to not die on the jumps is to not actually interact with the jump mechanics, because at least here it looks pretty much like you don't have to go into the long jump stance in order to, you know, actually land these.
Long jump stance. Well, watch out for the belly flopping whale. Here I come. The announcer makes me feel so epic going through these races. And on the subject of epicness, what a fantastic rock and roll theme track that series of music, and not only rock but also metal, which is really surprising for a game that is geared for audiences of all ages.
Well, we do have a lot of lead guitars. I wouldn't necessarily call this, you know, a heavier, heavier metal though.
Oh, there be wicked pounding drums in the devil's forest. Ah, how appropriate. Our main rival, Blood Falcon, is right behind us in the rankings. Up and down, up and down.
Alright, so, into Devil's Forest 2.
Dare I say this? Dare I say that this track probably had some inspiration from Slayer?
I'm not actually familiar enough with Slayer's discography to give a comparison, so.
Who rated blood?
I don't think Raining Blood exists as of '98, though, does it?
It does. That track came out in 1987.
Ah, okay.
Or Angel of Death. That's another track by Slayer. Oh, now they're really starting to mix up the tropes here. May take you by surprise with inexperience. That at once you're driving a car and then you're driving a spaceship.
The thing is that the F-Zero racers very specifically are not, you know, space capable. All these tracks have got artificial gravity on them, which is why we're able to, you know, do a majority of the really cool stuff the really cool fast stuff that we end up doing.
See, that makes a lot more sense in, like, if we were in the silence maps, because I noticed that you're more on like a satellite than actual planet. Like we are definitely on some kind of terrestrial planet. Even have cities.
Well, yeah, Devil's Forest specifically. Well, they have a Leviathan skeleton in the background, so.
The devil.
All right, so now Samurai Goro is effectively out of the tournament. Now we just got to worry about Gomer and Shio.
Yeah, I mean, again, we're not that far ahead. If we fell into
Samurai Goro.
If we fell into like 10th place or lower, then another racer could easily overtake us.
Mute City 2 technique.
And it's
so
a good
there's a
thing
couple of
that
hairpins in here.
Yes, indeed. Oh, look at those not so straight lines. Looks like a drunk man trying to draw a trapezoid.
But except for the bottom left corner.
So, racers that are new to the Queen Cup likely have noticed that instead of expanding the variety of tracks that you get to enjoy, they're making sequels. And in these sequel tracks,
here's the thing. The tracks that we are on are actually drastically different. They very specifically have drastically different track design as well as different gimmicks per track. Well, the first name that we use for the tracks is specifically the region of space that we're on, and then the second name is the effective track designation for that planet.
Right, the music track designation for that planet.
Okay.
And also the general locale, but what will change is the type of racetrack that you're on, because this is way different than Mute City 1. And also even the time of day can change, because now we're playing at night. Which honestly doesn't really affect things.
I do like the lead steel in Mute City's track. This is a pretty awesome guitar.
Okay, final lap. Oh, okay, now boost for the win. Finish! Alright, first place. And so, we continue our gargantuan lead on top of the usual suspects.
All right, now since we're at 52 points ahead of Gomor and Shio, we just need to take first place in the next course, Big Blue 2, quick turn, and we will, effectively win the cup.
Oh, of course, yes. It's practically in the bag. And as a note on the game's ability to keep up a challenge by giving you consistent rivals race after race when doing Grand Prix mode, it is good that they make the difficulty of opponents static once you start the race. That, for example, if all of these guys had exactly the same difficulty, but on every single race they ended up in different places, then they would be like non-contenders by race 3, because they would get in second in one race, but they would come in dead last in the next one. So by the time you get to race 4, 5, and 6, they don't have a snowball's chance of hell of keeping up with you if you've been landing in the top 3 every time.
But the thing is, Mr. Cloud, I actually do prefer that kind of race design when it comes to gameplay, when it comes to gameplay integration for the player, simply because it rewards the player specifically for actually having good performance, while also being realistic to how actual race how actual race stories end up throughout racing seasons.
Oh yeah. The story. Yes, that's a great word to use to describe how these races feel, not only to be in the race but also to observe it. Well, it is a massive cliche, even going through like Dukes of Hazzard, for example, even though there are better ones, that there's going to be at least like one main rival to the guy that you expect to see win the race, because of course he's the main character.
All right, Drac. I don't know anything about Drac. Does he actually have a cool vehicle?
Drac, what does he drive? I think he drives like a wide vehicle. Very wide. Very, shall I say,
But yeah, we can take last place in this course and we still win.
Oh, yeah, we have a 100-point lead now.
All right,
quite the massive shakeup.
I remember that Whiteland in the SNES courses actually having ice areas on the course, and they actually affecting you, not necessarily your handling, but how well you would do in straightaways.
So you would indeed readily recognize the ice fields that you see on the tracks occasionally. How about the rock fields?
The rock fields I also remember, but I don't remember what courses they were on, because they were on multiple different courses in the SNES game.
Yes. And those are about the only terrain the terrain characteristics that you're going to see that are going to affect how well you drive. Well,
really?
I mean, okay, that in the boost field. No, there is no lava in F-Zero X.
Damn.
Is it possible that they took lava out of the game because they realized that it was like too hazardous?
It's possible, but unlikely, because ever since the SNES game, and even to some extent during F-Zero X's popularity, F-Zero was always touted as one of the more difficult arcade racers, and this most certainly does feel very arcade-like.
Oh, indeed, yes. Like, nothing says arcade like having a life system, because, once again, the racetrack changed, but I have noticeably fewer lives than I did than the preceding race.
So while you're playing this, do you actually feel like you're going at 700 kilometers an hour, Mr. Cloud?
Absolutely. Like, you said that this game is challenging. That's one of the challenging aspects, is you have to, like, keep the game from tearing your vehicle apart.
Right.
Alright, we didn't end up in first, but that's okay.
Because Somar and Somar is effectively out. The only one that we were actually even remotely worried about was Drac, and he was already 100 points behind us. So.
And to think, we only were behind by
less than 1 second.
Less than 1 second. 900 thousandths of a second. talk about a photo finish check.
Congratulations.
Brought to you by Nintendo. And it is true that the ending credits the ending credits sequence will only change up if you do not end up in the top 3 or pretty much any rank other than first place. Well,
So
we
your
are the
overall
stars
top
here,
speed with the
baby.
Blue Falcon was actually lower than it was with Dr. Stewart.
Well, I mean, you're going to observe noticeably lower top speeds going through the Queen's Cup because the Queen's Cup is the more sophisticated and challenging race cup, considering that there are a lot more tight turns in this one than in the Jack's Cup.
Okay.
Yeah. It's the little touches, really. Like the little glances of light on the side.
Camouflage
And also,
17.
in the different difficulties, you can also see the little icon of the racer standing next to his vehicle, which is based on the icon that you see when you're selecting your balance between acceleration and top speed.
And your fireworks display will always be your character's head.
Captain Falcon! And in the next part,
We're going
now
on
that
to the
we've
King's
completed
Cup, right?
Queen's Cup down, King's Cup to go.
Be safe, everybody.
Royalty, baby. Make way for the king. Yeah.